Hey everybody, Mariko Berg, Realtor with Bridgewell Real Estate Group, and today I'm back for a continuation of our financing series with Jon Chan from RBC. Today we wanted to talk about something called bridge financing. It's something that a lot of people that are selling and buying can take advantage of and can kind of help to lower the stress that comes with buying and selling at the same time. So we're going to get into that, but before we do, Jon, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's Jon Chan, mortgage specialist with RBC Royal Bank, and here to answer some financing questions to help us navigate this crazy world that we're seeing right now.
All of the financing questions. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. For those of you guys that are in the market right now, I'm sure that you've noticed detached is absolutely insane, and townhouses are really busy too. Prices overall are going up, so it's a busy market. And so bridge financing, how can it help sellers? Jon, why don't we just start with basics? What is bridge financing?
Mm-hmm. Bridge financing is short-term financing to frankly cover the timing between a purchase and a sale. As we all know, the timing of the transactions can be tricky because there's so many dominoes that have to line up perfectly to make it work. You're selling to someone, they may have to be selling something. You're buying from someone, they might need to be buying from someone else. So bridge financing helps cover that gap in time where you sold your home, but the money hasn't come in yet, and you effectively need to settle your purchase one way or another. So bridge financing officially can give you money ahead of time. The bank will spot you, and you just pay us back when the sale completes in, say, a couple of weeks or months' time.
Yeah, and really like what I see in real estate a lot is just that when you sell first, you obviously have a period of time that you've negotiated to go out and find something. But when you find something, it's not always the case that the dates are going to have it be where it's like the money from your sale moves from the money to your purchase, et cetera, et cetera. And honestly, like I'm sure you see it too, like a lot of people that are buying and selling at the same time, like prefer to move in comfortably. And so they might prefer to have their home purchase complete a little bit before their home sale so that they can slowly move into the home over a week or two, like you said. So I think that's a really, really helpful thing to have. I think that a big conversation that comes up is like, obviously this is a method for convenience and to lower stress, and that obviously comes at a cost. So how is bridge financing worked out on a cost basis?
Yeah, it's basically an interest loan for the period of time that you need, whether it be a week or two or longer. Generally, it equates to almost a month's worth of regular mortgage payment. So it's certainly not a free ride, but it's a means to an end to cover that timing. As you alluded to earlier, in an absolute perfect world, financially at least, is to have the sale happen the day before the purchase. Yeah. That's not always going to happen. And like you also said, a lot of our clients rather have that comfort, that convenience of moving in early before the sale completes so they don't feel rushed. Therefore, purposely taking bridge financing to give themselves, like, say, a week or so to transition from a home to another home, having time to gussy up the old place or the new place first, painting and all that good stuff before you move everything in. So there is a cost, but can certainly outweigh the cons to all of that for both the convenience factor as well as just it's the only way to make the purchase happen.
And so, like for example, if somebody decides to move into their purchase a week sooner than their sale versus a month sooner than their sale, there must be a different like cost calculation. Is it interest by the day, or how does that work?
Yeah, it is by the day. So when we work out the cost, relatively speaking, say a month's worth of mortgage payment, if it's a shorter window of time, say 2 weeks or 1 week, you can roughly say divide that by 4. It could range anywhere between, say, $1,000 or more in interest. Right. But like I said, it's a means to an end. We don't typically recommend having too much time in between. Keeping it close to a month to 6 weeks max.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just don't have a choice, but again, trying your best to keep it as close as possible to mitigate that interest cost.
Okay, but then I actually didn't know that. So like in terms of like kind of planning ahead and being proactive for, I guess, a worst case situation, a good number that people can use for the cost of bridge financing is about a month's worth of mortgage payments.
Ballpark. Also to keep in mind, there is additional costs beyond just the interest. There's typically legal fees to set up such a bridge loan. It's to sign off saying that when you sell the property, you'll officially pay the bank back.
Right.
That legal cost, of course, ranges depending on the notary public or lawyer you're using. Also, not to forget the fact that you will start paying the new mortgage, but also still be paying the old mortgage in that window of time if there's an extended period of time. So effectively, you're paying on the new side, old side, and the bridge loan at the same time. So let's just be honest, it'll sting a little bit for that period of time. But again, it's a means to an end. I know it's easy for me to say that, but I guess the point is don't have too much of a window of time thinking you'll truly need a month's convenience while there's a cost to that, paying on multiple sides as well as the bridge loan.
Yeah, so only bite off what you can chew.
Yeah.
Don't go too crazy. That's a good way of thinking about it, and all of those costs are really helpful. So another question that I get asked from a lot of clients is how to qualify for bridge financing, and also can everybody qualify?
Yeah, it's qualifying is definitely important to consider. Thinking, oh, I'll just get bridge financing when I'm buying a place. But there are obviously some important details to note. You do require, first and foremost, an unconditional sale of your current home. So it's not just the intention of selling your home. You must actually have a binding contract signed with deposits removed from the person buying your home to qualify for said loan. You'll also need a binding contract on the purchase side. So at least we know the dates involved. So the sale date and the purchase date, what that gap in time is. So once we have those in place, qualifying is pretty straightforward in terms of getting any regular mortgage loans first. But by having your binding sale and purchase and making sure that the dollar amounts all line up, like how much you're expecting to get from the sale, and making sure that's enough to settle the purchase, it's pretty much guaranteed that you will get the bridge loan. Again, so long as you are up to date on your taxes and already have done your mortgage financing side of things. Just to throw that out there too, if you need to borrow funds for a deposit loan as well, it's a similar process. Basically spotting you early, needing the money to complete the purchase or at least secure the purchase. We have means to do so through our branch network to have deposit loans, which is basically a mini bridge loan, needing to borrow, say, 30, 40, 50K instead of the full expected sale proceeds to sell the purchase. So qualifying wise, just really the contracts, all binding, and the typical mortgage financing side, of course, that already goes without saying.
So then in terms of like qualifying for the actual bridge financing, it's not something that you do until you have a firm sale and then a firm purchase. So essentially subjects removed, deposit handed in.
That's right.
So just out of curiosity, in terms of people like planning for it, like say I've listed my home and, you know, I'm really worried about finding something in a reasonable period of time once I've sold, but I want to have bridge financing as a backup option. Should I be talking to you in advance and asking whether or not like I would be eligible for bridge financing and having that conversation up front?
100%. I always suggest my clients that this is an avenue we look at when we proceed, because frankly, we don't want to be caught behind the 8 ball when we found a place and having sold their property and then scrambling at the last minute to get something in place. Again, needing to have the sale and the purchase kind of in order so that we know exactly the dollar amounts, but at least having that discussion to say, hey, look, this is something we can do so long as we have a sale and purchase in order. and also, of course, making sure there's money for that deposit, because that's typically needed within 7 days or so of the purchase being accepted. And definitely don't want to be scrambling at the last minute to get that in order.
Yeah, so I actually want to unpack that a little bit more. And thanks for answering that and moving into this. But so for those of you guys, just a recap on the process itself. Typically, you get an accepted offer. If you have a standard subject removal period, so that time to do your due diligence, it's about 7 days long. After that 7 days, if all is good in terms of financing, title, all of the standard subjects that you typically have, either upon final subject removal or within 24 hours of final subject removal, you're going to be handing in a deposit. And again, kind of like the standard expected amount is about 5%. Now, one of the biggest issues that we both face is that when somebody's selling their home and moving to another home, a lot of the times the money that they would have for their down payment and also in turn their deposit is coming out of their house. It's not liquid cash that they have right now. So a lot of people struggle with, how am I going to get this deposit money within that 7-day period when I don't get the money from my sale until the completion date, which may be a month, 2 months, whatever, how long later. So what Jon was talking about is deposit financing and how banks can help to make sure that you also have that money up front. But obviously it's a conversation people should be having with you in advance, because you definitely don't want to be caught not with a deposit last minute. So can you unpack a little bit how you guys help with deposit financing?
Yeah, like you absolutely said there, having things well in advance certainly helps. This starts with the pre-approval stage, just so you can know what you should be looking at when you're buying, and having we call it, well, definitely the minute important things to consider, because we think, okay, big picture, when we sell the home, everything will settle fine. But you're absolutely right. Most people have their money that we expect for the deposit and their remaining down payment tied up in their old home. You sell, great. Have all the money that we need to have this all completed. However, again, based on the timing of things, you won't necessarily have access to that. Yeah. So therefore, getting your advice well in advance, whether it be, again, the pre-approval, the contingency plans, if you want to call it that, for the deposit and bridge loan in place. Some of our clients, again, well in advance, set up home equity plans so that they can automatically have that money for their deposit without even worrying about getting a short-term loan. Right. Is definitely great advice. This is something I would always suggest to my clients if they can qualify for it at the beginning. Yeah. When they buy their home initially, hey, I know we're not thinking about the next home yet, but it's just good to have something like this in place in case something like that happens. You have access to credit. So it's all about just general advice that we like to give to our clients. But like you said, just getting things in order through good conversations months out from when you want to look at purchasing. So when the time comes, you're ready to pull that trigger. So definitely, again, suggest talking to your mortgage advisor or, of course, myself to help around that.
Cool. And so I think what I'm hearing is that for the deposits, like you can do something similar to what you would do in a bridge financing situation, but you may also be able to use like line of credits and things like that. So there's different options that they have, which is...
Yeah, that's right. Again, if you have something set up already, like say a line of credit associated with the home or separate, that can certainly help if it's enough to cover your deposit. But if not, at least starting that conversation, hey, Jon, I might be doing this and that. What are the options? And between myself and my branch colleagues, we can look at doing something that will have you ready. Whereas if you're working with, say, brokers out there that only look at the mortgage, they don't have the capacity to create a loan that's separate from the situation to complete the deposit, which is very vital to the purchase side.
Yeah, I think that that's actually an excellent point, and one of the reasons to go with somebody that works at the bank, because I know that you have more access in terms of line of credits and those short-term loans for things like deposits. So for anybody that is struggling with a deposit or think that they are going to be struggling with a deposit, I would definitely recommend talking to Jon because he'll be a good resource. But I think that like like a lot of our videos, really what we're getting at is that preparing and planning things in advance and having conversations with a good team is always going to be to your benefit. And yeah, I think that those are all the questions that I have on bridge financing. Thank you so much for clarifying everything. And I hope that this is definitely a resource that some people will take advantage of if you are a little bit concerned about buying and selling at the same time. But if you do have any questions about the process, or you're thinking about buying and selling and you want to have a conversation with either myself or John or both of us, we're more than happy to be your team and help guide you through everything, because it can be a stressful process, but it doesn't have to be as stressful as you think. So there's ways to help, and that's really what we're here for. So I think that wraps up everything for bridge financing. So thank you so much, John, for being on the call and answering all these questions. And we'll keep going with this financing series. Everybody stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thanks, John. Bye.
Bye.